Hey, sisters and brothers, soldiers and warriors. This is your sister Fire. And welcome back to my channel to all of my old and new subscribers. I hope that you all are in good graces and in good health, my brothers and sisters. So, today I want to talk to y'all about how it is so important for us to lift our loved ones up in prayer. Yes, my brothers and sisters, it is important for us to lift our loved ones up in prayer, especially our children. Think about this. How do you think, and I'm sorry for the pause, but I was just trying to think about how I wanted to ask the question. But how do you think that you made it this far in life, my brothers and sisters? Just think about it. You have got to know that for most of us anyway, for most of us, but, for most of us, we had family members praying for us that got us through in life, my brothers and sisters. For example, you may have had a praying grandmother or a praying grandfather or a praying mother or a praying father. Yes, my brothers and sisters. See, some of us had praying parents or praying grandparents or something of the sort. It could have been, if not a grandparent, could have been a godparent. It could have even been a cousin, okay, who was praying for us, especially when we were young. For those of us who had our time, who had our experience out there in the streets. You know what I mean? Because most people growing up, we all, have our time when, we go off the path with God, okay? Before we even come to the path with God. For most of us, we're young, and we're exploring life. And, most of us have, partied, went to clubs. If not went to clubs, we went to parties, house parties, things of that sort. And, we were doing ungodly things. Okay. And, for most of us, it was because we didn't know God. Okay. And so what I'm trying to get to with that, bringing that up, is that most of us had someone praying for us, my brothers and sisters. Yes, we had someone covering us, even when we weren't covering ourselves, or even when we couldn't cover ourselves, or didn't know any better to cover ourselves. We had a loved one covering us in prayer. And that is what got us this far in life, my brothers and sisters. And so that is why I am bringing it up, or, a part of the reason why I am bringing up the fact that it is so important for us to cover our loved ones in prayer. Because, see, prayer changes things. And I also have a video about that as well. So I don't want to get in too much detail about, how prayer changes things. But I guess what the matter that I want to stress in this particular video is how we need to cover those that we love in prayer, because some of them may not know God yet. Examples such as our children. We may have raised our children up to know God and to have a relationship with God, but they may not yet be there. You understand what I'm saying? And so we have to cover them in prayer, even if they do know God. You know what I mean? Our children are still, when they're children, of course, and when they are teenagers and young adults, they still don't know the importance, a lot of them still don't know the importance of covering themselves in prayer. Okay? Just like, for an example, let's say you have a friend, or I don't know, a coworker that you're fond of. However, they may not know God. And so you may take it upon yourself, because you love that individual in God, to go ahead and start praying for them, and praying for their salvation, and praying for their protection and their deliverance in God. So you see what I'm saying? And those very prayers that you pray for that individual or for those individuals could very well protect them and bring them out on the other side, to where they now have an opportunity to cover themselves in prayer once they get to know God. You see what I'm saying? Another example is, you may have a loved one who already knows God, but they may be in a position where they can't pray at the time. They may be, an example, you could have a family member who got into a bad accident and they are in a coma. I rebuke that in the name of Jesus for you all, but just giving an example. And so that loved one may need you to cover them in prayer, and to pray for them that they come up out of that coma, or they come up out of that thing, whatever that thing may be that that loved one could be going through at the time. And so that's why I am making this video and giving you all this message today. Because just like our parents and our grandparents and our loved ones prayed for us when we couldn't even pray for ourselves, or when we didn't even, know to pray for ourselves, we should be covering our loved ones as well. Because believe it or not, those prayers have saved a life. I am sure of it. Those prayers sent out for loved ones have saved a life, could save a life, could give that person that extra push that they need to go on in life. And so, my brothers and sisters, that's why I just want to bring it to you all's attention, how important it is for us to cover our loved ones in prayer, especially our children. Prayer changes things. And once again, I just want to stress how that prayer that you pray for a loved one, or even for someone you may not even know, but you love them in God enough to send out a prayer for them. How much that because you took the time out to pray for that person, how that one prayer could have gave that person that blessing upon their life, that strength from God to give them that extra push that they needed to go on in life. That person could have been contemplating unaliving themselves. But because you sent out a prayer for them, they decided not to do it. They decided to push on and to keep striving in life. Just think about that for a moment, my brothers and sisters. And how much does prayer cost, my brothers and sisters? Think about it. How much does prayer cost us? What? Maybe a minute of your time just to go in spirit and truth and pray for another brother or sister? Your prayer doesn't have to be a long, drawn out prayer, but that's okay too if you would like. But what I'm trying to get to is that it doesn't take you long at all to go in prayer for another brother or sister. It doesn't cost you much at all. And it can actually save someone's life. That someone being in particular your loved one. So I want you all to think about, the message that I brought tonight. And I hope that it inspires you, if you haven't already, of course, to take the time out sometimes and just cover your loved ones in prayer. Because at the beginning, middle, and end of the day, we don't always know what's going on in someone's life. A lot of people are good at smiling and hiding what's really going on with them in life. And so we never know how someone is feeling. We never know what someone is really going through. Unless, of course, if they tell us or if the Lord tells us. And the Lord doesn't always tell us all of someone else's business. And others don't always tell us all of their business. But it only takes one prayer, my brothers and sisters. And maybe 1 minute to just lift a loved one or a person in general up in prayer. So, with that being said, my brothers and sisters, I love you all. I'm going to go ahead and wrap this video up. And the Lord's willing, I will be back sooner than later. This is your sister Fire. And until next time.